Hi, psychology. This is what causes obesity or practicing our approaches. This is part one. We're going to watch 3 video clips and then pull out reasons from different approaches that might explain different reasons that causes obesity in humans. Hopefully you have your graphic organizer. If not, you can just make a chart on your own paper and things like that. So we're going to start with the first video. There are multiple approaches from video number 1, but I will talk you through that once that is over. So here we go with video number 1.
£630 Lisa Sellers is drawing rapidly closer to a disabling existence just like Paul. At just 39, her knees are becoming crippled under the sheer weight of her body, while her enormous stomach hangs as low as her knees. Since separating from her husband 2 years ago, Lisa and her 19-year-old son Nick have lived alone in a small 2-bedroom house in North Carolina, in which she's a prisoner. A self-confessed food addict, she is trapped by something which she finds impossible to control.
There's a lot of mixed emotions involved in, just that plate of cookies sitting over there. The guilt, the guilt, for wanting them or, for being happy that they're there, It's just, the whole deal with food it's just a whole roller coaster of emotions that I go through.
I have noticed that I guess she gets a little more excited than, say, I would about eating a bag of cookies coming to the house. They're gone in a pretty short amount of time, or just any type of junk food that you can just have between meals and stuff and just snack on. She gets a little overboard with it.
If I was here by myself, I would probably be, reaching for those cookies just within a few minutes. Probably as soon as I felt like it was safe. Nobody was around or was going to come in or come back. I'd be right on those cookies, yeah. I remember growing up, my mother, she liked sweets. And my daddy didn't really like for us to keep them in the house. But she would buy them and hide them. She had a little hiding place in the closet. And anyway, I knew where it was, and I would go sneak in there and get some.
The way that we are brought up, even before we're born, the food that our mother eats, the food that we're exposed to in infancy, and the habits we learn through our childhood, all influence how we eat and how we perceive food as an adult.
They're definitely, she definitely has weird, unusual eating habits, and like she'll get up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom and then make a trip to the kitchen and fix something to eat. Whereas most people would get up, go use the bathroom, go back to bed. She makes a stop at the kitchen.
If I'm going to eat something like candy or cookies or cake, something sweet or something that's bad, I will eat them when, it's just me, when no one's around at night. I'm getting ready to go to sleep, and this is kind of my ritual that I do sometimes, some nights before I go to sleep, or I have a snack before I go to sleep, and it kind of, helps relax me and kind of, helps me ease off into sleep. I would say that probably food is probably one of the first things I think of when I wake up in the morning, and, probably one of the last things I think about when I'm going to sleep.
This bedtime snack alone totals 1,040 calories.
The reason why she can consume so much of a high sugar product is almost certainly just because her body is not reacting to it in the same way that leaner people do and isn't telling her that she's had enough. And of course, you become accustomed to that high sugar intake. Your body levels of insulin are high and remain high. And the complex physiological processes that then occur take away that brain signal that says, I've had enough, it's time to stop.
Typically, an average-sized man will store body fat around his waist. But for a woman, fat distribution is different. She will store fat around her hips and thighs. But for a supermorbidly obese woman like Lisa Sellers, this feminine trait no longer exists. The whole body simply becomes overwhelmed with fat, as the fat cells in the body swell to become up to 6 times bigger. When you gain weight, your fat cells also begin to multiply, from the average 40 billion up to 100 billion. If Lisa were to lose weight, this increased number of fat cells will never decrease. They can only shrink in size.
The relationship I have with food is very much like a love-hate relationship. It's like when I'm eating, I feel almost, euphoric. I love the taste of the food and, everything about it, about eating. But afterwards, I feel like I've done something wrong. I feel guilty about it, and that depresses me, brings me way down. There was someone who was close to me who had a problem with drugs one time, and I used to be very, I guess I had really hard feelings toward her about that. But then, I realized one day that we're really no different. She gave up a lot of things because of her addiction to drugs. She gave up her children. But then I realized that I'm no different because I've given up my health for food. I say, how can I judge her? Because I'm the same.
Okay, so that clip had a lot of reasons for obesity, things we can pull from there. From the cognitive approach, notice how she talks about the memories of her and her mother hiding food, hiding especially those sweets and those really unhealthy foods. So telling her it was kind of a taboo thing. From the humanistic approach, notice how she was very emotional when talking about food, how she said knowing those plate of cookies are back there is bringing her lots of joy, happiness. Notice how she talked about this love-hate relationship with food. She loves the food when she's eating it, then she just hates herself afterwards because of everything she's done with it. From the evolutionary approach, her body has now regulated to this high calorie and sugar intake. If people of a smaller size, normal size, or even someone who's not that quite obese were to eat that much, they would get sick, right? We cannot sustain that. So her body has now adjusted to all those calories and all that sugar with that. So those fat cells multiplying like that also has that evolutionary approach. So video number 2. Video 2 and 3, there's only one approach from each of those, so hopefully it'll be a little bit easier for you to decipher that one.
Richard Atkinson headed the University of Wisconsin lab that discovered the so-called fat virus in chickens. They then found antibodies from the virus in 30% of obese people, but only 11% of lean people. While there's no proof yet that the virus causes human obesity, Atkinson was convinced enough by animal studies to start a company to test for the virus.
100% of monkeys, which is the closest model that we have to humans, 100% of the monkeys got fat. So if you are infected with this virus, it's a human virus, you are almost certainly going to get fat.
Atkinson says finding out if they are positive for the virus could make obese people feel better about themselves and warn lean people to seek treatment.
I think ideally, everybody in the country should have a test once a year.
But Randy Seeley, Associate Director of the University of Cincinnati's Obesity Research Center, disagrees. And not just because many obese people are negative for the virus.
At this time, we simply do not have any of that kind of information to say, you know what, if you test positively, you should go for this treatment strategy, not this treatment strategy.
He points out that there is currently no approved medical treatment for preventing obesity and says we're all at risk.
The reality is we all have every reason to be taking our diet seriously, taking our exercise seriously, whether or not we test positive for this virus.
Seeley says for now, the idea of an obesity virus remains just one of many ideas worthy of further research. I'm Brad Closa.
Okay, so in that clip, it talks about a fat virus for which people can get tested for that shows evidence of causing obesity. So that would be from the biological approach. So again, fat virus that you could be tested for to see if it could lead to your obesity. That would be biological because that is a naturally occurring process within your body. All right, last video for today only.
Science Central.
Recent animal studies on how obesity is inherited have suggested that it's not simply genetic. It's somehow triggered in the womb. Now a study in mice shows mom's obesity during pregnancy not only triggers obesity in her offspring, but also amplifies it.
They actually were fatter than their mothers. So we saw a population shift in the distribution of body weight. We saw a shift in this distribution toward a heavier and heavier body weight with each generation.
Nutrition researcher Rob Waterland and his team at Baylor College of Medicine found this increase by following 3 generations of a strain of obesity-prone mice. Since the mice are all genetically identical, getting fat can't be due to changes in the DNA code. Instead, mom's fat must affect fetal development, boosting baby's body weight for a lifetime.
So this was a non-genetic transmission of obesity across generations.
As they wrote in the International Journal of Obesity, the finding could help explain the obesity epidemic in people. But the good news was they also showed that feeding the obese mom special dietary supplements can reverse the effect.
That it was able to completely eliminate the obesogenic effect, or the obesity-promoting effect of maternal obesity on the offspring.
One of those supplements was folic acid, which pregnant women are already advised to take, but the researchers stress they do not know if these effects translate from mice to people. For now, their work supports recommendations that women aim for a healthy weight before pregnancy. Brad Closa, Science Central News.
Okay, so in that clip, it talks about obese mothers triggering obesity in their babies and the children that they're carrying. So since there is a shift there, since there are changes happening, that would be from the evolutionary approach, that obesity in mothers is triggering obesity in those babies. Again, that is the evolutionary approach. So that is it for today. You will watch videos 4 and 5 in class later. Bye.